Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 479, we're going to talk about Sir Conrad the Grim. We are still rolling with our Throne of Eldraine Legends, so here we go. 5 mana 5/4 Human Knight, which seems to be a very popular creature type in the set. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. And if that wasn't enough, if those 6 lines of text weren't enough, let's add 2 more. 2 mana, each player puts the top card of their library in their graveyard. So he's got a self-mill. Is this like the most aristocrat that ever aristocrated? I don't know. But anyway, I didn't exactly go that route because I figured that's the route that y'all are going to see a bunch. I just tried to do... First off, let me show you the first card that popped in my head. So, his ability is kind of complex. It's more or less 3 abilities all rolled up into one. So when a creature dies, he does 1 damage to each opponent. When a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, meaning the library, milling, from the hand, discarding, I guess even randomly from if one of the Eldrazi processors puts it from exile into your graveyard, I don't know. But anytime a creature goes to the yard from anywhere, it's happening. So the first card I thought of was Morality Shift. Now this is a card I have never put in any other deck, but it's one of those cards that stands out in my mind that I'm always kind of looking for. So obviously this is a late game card. Exchange your graveyard and your library. So late game, after you've used that crazy milling ability a whole bunch, and that counts as creatures leaving your graveyard. I mean, so does like reanimation and things like that, but that's a mass amount of damage because we are playing with a ton of creatures. So let's roll through some creatures, shall we? There's a bunch here. In no particular order. The Vulture. 2/2 flyer for 3, which is actually not bad for black. And evidently this one got smeared while printing. I don't know. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 4, and then you gain 1 life for each creature card put in your graveyard. So we're going to gain life, they're going to lose life because of Konrad's ability. It's all good. Mind Rack Demon, same thing. And this is a 5/4 flying trample body. Indulgent Tormentor. This is just card draw. I probably should have put it in the card draw section, but it is still conditional. Draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. So you get to pick someone at the table who you think is most likely to give you the outcome that you want. Hired Poisoner is in there because there's a lot of cards that require sacrificing creatures, and sometimes you just got to have a creature sacrifice. And a 1/1 Death Touch, if you draw it early, it does kind of steer combat away from you. And, you're not really attached to it when it comes time to sack dudes. Eye Collector. Oh, this art hurts me to look at. Makes my eye twitch. Still here, it's a 1/1 flyer for 1, and, it does some milling. Stronghold Assassin is exactly the card we want. Now, this, you don't see a whole lot of decks either. But sack a creature to destroy a creature. So not only are we eliminating problems, we're also dealing that incidental combat damage. Spike Cannibal is in there. Just, move all +1/+1 counters from all creatures onto it. So that's neat. In a couple of decks from now, I'll show you the +1/+1 counter deck that I have built. And +1/+1 counter themes is a very popular theme, and a lot of decks just have those in there incidentally. Limdul. The beautiful part about Limb Duel is that creature actually does die, so it will trigger Comrade, and then you can spend the 2 to get it. So we have a lot of kill spells in here. So speaking of kill spells, Royal Assassin. I know I say it a lot. He's overlooked, but you know what? And yes, he gets a removal spell, but that's way better than something else getting a removal spell. And if he doesn't, it's a reusable removal spell. Umbra Stalker is great because we are going to have, creatures in the graveyard, not just creatures, but spells too. Black mana symbols in, Geth. So apparently, with Geth, that introduces the mill concept, furthered by the Mind Crank. So and Mind Crank has the potential, man, that's crazy. So if somebody, whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards at the top of his library. So if you attack them for, I don't know, something modest, like 2, if they take 2 damage, and then they're going to mill 2, if any of those are creatures, they're going to lose the life from Konrad, and then mill again. It's just, yeah, right? So that's why I'm running a Terminal's Crypt, because, the mill factor is real. I mean, it may not, it's secondary, maybe even tertiary, but it's present. Corpse Augur. Number of creature cards in target player's graveyard. This could be yours, it could be theirs. You make the decision, then whoever's got the most, hey, it works. Fallen Angel is just a heck of a sack outlet when you absolutely need it. Now, while we're on sack outlets, that brings a couple cards to mind. Dictate of Erebos and, what was the first one? Grave Pact. Those are awesome cards. They should be in the deck. If I had them, they would be, but I had to work with what I got, And, at a certain point, as many decks as I am building, I don't want them all to feel the same. You know what I'm saying? And if you put the same cards in every deck, this is a sacrifice deck, I'm running the same 30 cards. It kind of loses something about what our format's all about, So I try to mix it up as much as I can. Merciless Executioner is beautiful because a whole bunch of stuff's going to die. Magus of the Abyss, there again, a bunch of stuff's going to die. Gray Merchant, we are playing mono black. He has an amazing comes into play ability, and it's great for reanimation targets that we have. Maybe zombify. Yeah, I know. I'm showing you the zombify, and I get it. I know there are a lot better cards out there, but y'all know me, right? Let's try to get this a little where we can. It's an Odyssey foil zombify, and I love it. I know there's better effects, for cheaper or same, but I like it. Revenant. Power touches equal number of creatures in your yard. Gravedigger gets something back. Ashen Ghoul comes back by itself, as does the Reassembling Skeleton. We can keep popping it back to have something to sacrifice. Fleshwrither can go and get. And the beautiful part is, you cast the Fleshwrither, you spend your 3 mana and sack it so it dies, so you get that trigger to go get another 4-drop. Yeah. And, I mean, there's a few 4-drops in the deck, probably Necrotal, something to kill another creature. Vampire Nighthawk's just a great card. Bone Shredder kills on entry. Now, Skull Collector. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a black creature you control to its owner's hand. Back in the day, there was a whole bunch of cards. Green, all colors have them scattered across many different sets. That the quote unquote drawback was because here you got a 3 mana for a 3/3 regenerator, so they had to have some kind of drawback. So the drawback was every turn you got to put a creature back in your hand and recast it. Well, you know what? When you're recasting stuff like the Bone Shredder, Necrotol, um, those are cards that you want to keep casting over and over. So this is quite the engine, and it goes very, very well with our new card, Murderous Rider, because Murderous Rider is wow. Now, granted, it takes a lot of mana to get the loop going, but I mean, because we're going to want to spend the 3 to cast the adventure, and then it's going to go to the adventure zone, and then you can cast it later, and then the ogre puts it back in your hand, and you get to do it all over again. Da da da. Yeah, it's more or less the 2-card, 6 mana repeatable murder, or well, destroy target creature, planeswalker, lose 2. There's a card for that. I can't call it to mind because it's rare. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Fleshbag Marauder puts a lot of things in the graveyard. Bloodgift Demon is another card draw. Why did I not put that in the card draw? Zulaport Cutthroat, it is, I mean, it's just at home in the deck. Demon of Wailing Agonies. Yeah, that player sacrifices a creature. It's pretty good. And Apprentice Necromancer. Now this one I like. You sack the Necromancer to return a card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it gains haste, and then it dies. So, yeah, that's 2 triggers. 3 triggers, because the creature's leaving the graveyard, too. So, yeah, this is going to be hard to keep up with. What else? I guess since I'm almost already done with the card draw, let's go ahead and Harvester of Souls. Dies, draw cards. It seems good. Siphon Mine. Everybody discards and you draw, or everybody else discards and then you draw equals the total number. So this is really good, especially if they discard creatures. They're going to, take some damage. Sign in Blood, of course. Let's look at some mana. Urgolem's Eye, Milliken, Leaden Mirror. I chose the 2 artifact creatures because they are creatures, and in the late game, if you don't need them, you can sack them and to get that trigger. Culling of the Weak is kind of a sacrifice version of the Dark Ritual. But I want to talk about Black Market, because I don't think I've talked about Black Market in a while. Oh, man. It's whenever a creature dies, you put a counter on it. And it just keeps... A creature dies. Yours, theirs, everybody's... It just keeps getting counters. And the argument here is, yeah, this costs 5, so by then you're past the early game and you don't need the mana boost. But come on, we always need the mana boost. Let's look at other stuff here. Since we have whenever a creature dies, we'll continue on with that theory with Shadows of the Past. We'll scry 1. And that 5 mana sync ability, it'll work. I mean, it's just if we decide we want to put 5 mana into it. Whenever a creature dies, get some treasure. So, 10 treasures, that's... This is the only treasure generating card in the deck, so it's not like that. But there again, that's another possible win condition. Dingus Staff. Now, this is everybody. So, but Dingus Staff paired with the Mind Crank and all that, yeah, it could potentially get really, really bad. Victimize is a really good reanimation spell. I mean, sack 1 to get 2, and you're getting 3 triggers off the deal from our commander, because you've got 1 going into the graveyard and 2 leaving the graveyard, so that's 3. Diabolic Tutor will get us that piece we need. Bone Horde, check that out. Yeah, right? Where X is the number of cards in all graveyards. This seems like it was just made for the deck. I mean, you can incidentally just strap up the Bone Horde to Konrad and just win by one-shotting people. Spoils of the Blood is a after Wrath. You know, oh hey, everything that died, I'm just going to get a one big dude. Phyrexian Reclamation is another. I like it. It's a good, useful, reusable reanimation tool. Here, let's look at our 3 non-basic, shall we? Polluted Mire, Barren Moor, and I'm going to try out this new Witch's Cottage. I mean, just because we're playing mono black, I don't feel like it's going to be hard to have 3 other swamps. And getting that creature back, if it's like a flesh bag or something, well, any creature that is in our yard, we could probably deal with using again, right? So let's, what is left here? Oh, removal, okay. Smallpox. Now, Smallpox is a great card. It's not just good in black-white decks that have Flagstones of Trocare. It's good. Yeah. It's a good combo, though, isn't it? Barter and Blood. Barter and Blood actually took the place of something else. I can't remember exactly what I had in its place. Oh, Diabolic Edict. I was like, huh. This gets way more triggers. In Garrett's Wake's just a good card. Witch's Vengeance, we're trying this. By the way, if y'all are looking at the deck list on Archidect, right now, you know, probably won't be once y'all see this, because I'm recording for the future. Commander, the cards are legal as of pre-release, according to the Rules Committee's website. However, on Archidect, I guess it's crossed all formats. The cards are not legal till as of release day, so if you're viewing, some of y'all are very clever and you just know that I list a deck before I record it, so you can actually see, kind of peek into the future as to what deck is coming, you know, in the next couple days by following my Archidect page. Yeah, kind of neat. But anyway, Witch's Vengeance, I believe, is going to be more useful than we think. Yeah, it's a tribe hate card, but I think it's gonna be a lot more useful than we think about it. Of course, we're playing a murder, a sudden death, a corrupt, consuming vapors. Let's look at Phyrexian Tribute. Now, as far as Mono Black's ability to destroy artifacts, yeah, it ain't that great. And I know Tribute's on the list. It's still, well, I'm not going to lie. I don't remember exactly how much it is. It ain't cheap, but it ain't expensive either. Let's go that way. And this does the thing you want to do. I mean, you're sacrificing 2 creatures in a sacrifice creature deck, so it kind of seemed to fit. And nobody ever sees artifact destruction coming from the mono black deck, right? Spinning Darkness. This is another decent one. 3 damage and to a non-black creature, and you gain 3 life. And the upside here is you get to exile 3 creatures instead of paying to 6. Now, I used this a bunch back, you know, in when this was Type 2. And our last card, Crypt Rat. Crypt Rat is by far probably one of my favorite mono black board wipes. Well, at least that's how it's going to function in this deck. It's just so, I mean, it's controllable to where it doesn't matter what you activate it for, you're killing the rat, right? I mean, the only way around that is to play white black and put like a black ward on it, or somehow give it indestructible or things like that. Which I have decks that do that. I don't remember what they are, but they're backwards from here, I guess. But this is just I mean, that's a potential whole lot of triggers. And this also hits the players too, so the players are going to take that much damage, the creatures are going to take that much damage, and when the creatures die, they are just yeah, I think it's the perfect deck. So we're gonna put this and got trusty swamps. Had a question about how many basic lands. So I honestly haven't counted. It's on, as I said, all my deck lists are on the Architect page, or well, all of the new decks that I make are on Architect. Yeah. So it's now granted. I'll show you where. Y'all see the line of post-it notes. It starts at 411. Everything after deck 411 is listed on Architect, and everything before deck number 93. You can't see that because of that glare on that bar light, but um, all these middle decks I am working on. I'm starting from that end and slowly coming this way. But I'll be honest with you, that's a lot of work. And right now, I'm just trying to. Um, I have a goal, and that is to get to deck number 500 by, say, mid-November. Maybe there's a reason there. Maybe there's not. I don't know. I'm trying to chase down something. It'd be really cool. I don't want to say anything, get anybody's hopes up, but um, it's going to involve, because the number I turned in was 500. Anyway, that's it for Sir Conrad the Grim. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. And right now, I think it's time to shuffle and cut.